When you think of Ohio's first U.S. congressional district, Westwood, Cincinnati's largest neighborhood, has always been a key part of it. Not even the 2010 redistricting could change that, but there have been major modifications to the boundaries. The biggest is that all of Warren County is now included in the first, along with northeastern suburbs like Blue Ash and Montgomery, plus western Cincinnati and Hamilton County. The two men trying to win the seat of this redrawn district are Republican incumbent Steve Chabot and Democrat Jeff Sinnard. Sinnard was born, raised, and educated in Cincinnati. He's a civil engineer for a Mount Adams firm and once worked for the company that oversaw the rebuilding of Fort Washington Way.
There have been numerous calls for the repeal of President Obama's health care plan. I would like to know what elements of that original bill would you use to form a new foundation for a health care plan you'd feel comfortable supporting?
Well, I guess I'm not interested in actually repealing Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. I think it's moving in the right direction. I think with all legislation there's opportunities for tweaks, but the idea that we should start over and move backwards on something that's taken us so long to make happen, I don't agree with that. So I support the Affordable Care Act, and I'm open to tweaking it, but leave it where it is. Thank you.
We'd like to expand one of our locations, but the banks aren't loaning any money right now. What would you do to help ease this credit crunch?
Well, I think one of the things we need to do is instill confidence, and I think one of the things that, as a politician, you need to speak with confidence. I think that we're going to get out of whatever problems we're in, that there is right now an effort at, it seems like, cheerleading for failure, and that really drags down everybody's confidence. The banks are hesitant to loan. There are real financial issues that we can address if we work on the deficit, if we work on freeing up finances. We can do those things, but I think a big part of it really is having an optimism that's been missing, and I'd like to restore some of that. Great question, thank you.
With millions of Americans still facing foreclosure, what new ideas do you have to keep people in their homes?
You know, I think one of the things I found is that good solutions to problems come from anywhere, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't know that I really do have an answer for what I personally would do, but I think what I would do is go to Washington with a sense that there are solutions, that we can find them, ask a few bright people into the room, see what they think. I'm a big believer. I'm a civil engineer, and as an engineer I know that there are solutions to problems, and often there's more than one solution to a problem. I'm a big believer in numbers, and that we can address problems logically and get to where we need to go. So I think we need to be open to other people's ideas, not just what I would do, and move forward from there. Thank you.
With record high gas prices being eclipsed daily in California, what would you propose to relax the regulations preventing fossil fuel exploration in the United States before these prices extend to the rest of the country? Well,
I think you need to review why prices are high and what's causing prices to be high. And I think regulation may be a small part of it, but part of it is demand and supply and economics beyond the control of Washington. And I think we do have real issues with the environment that we need to address, and I think we could expand some exploration. We could look at the strategic reserve. There's things we could do, but I think you're incorrect in labeling regulation as the root of the problem. The problem is basic economics and not resting with the regulation. Thanks for the question.
Our public schools are increasing the rigor of instruction and expectations for students in line with the Common Core that's being adopted nationwide. What structures will you build to get feedback directly from teachers, principals, and students about these efforts?
Well, I think one of the things that we can do is just be open to meeting and talking to folks. I'd be glad to meet with any group of teachers, parents. I'll have office hours and certainly be willing to talk to folks, find out what's working and what's not working. I think it's interesting that we have all these discussions about what measures we can apply to education, and it seems kind of funny because we have a system for measuring the success of education. It's grades. I had them. We've all had them. I got some A's, some B's, a few C's and D's. We understand what that means, and we understand how we apply that. I trust teachers to get the job done, and certainly willing to talk to folks about ways that we can improve education and move forward.
A college education has become a requirement for many students to find a career in their later life. But we all know it costs a lot. Some families can't afford it, and others end up with a large amount of debt when they graduate. What can you do to help change that?
Well, I think one of the things we could do is there are programs like Pell Grants that we can fund. We need to revalue education as well and not degrade the value of education and undermine the value of education and downplay the value of education. Certainly we need educated folks to grow the economy, to grow the future of this country. There is room for expanding of Pell Grants. I think what the President did with moving the banks out of the middleman, and freeing up that money to expand loans to students was a great thing, and we can continue to do more of that.
I have children, and Congress keeps spending trillions of dollars and then passing the debt onto her and her generation. Do you find this to be immoral, just to support a government that is bigger than what we can afford? And if so, what do you plan on doing to make the tough decisions to stop stealing from her generation and to come to a balanced budget?
I think there are lots of issues that affect our children, the debt being one of them. I think the environment is a big one for me. I worry about my son as well and his future. I worry about his opportunities. I worry about the environment that he'll grow up in and that his children will grow up in. I worry about global warming. I worry about lots of strange and obscure things, bee colony collapse. As a parent, you worry about everything, and my son was one of the big reasons I got involved in politics, so I take certainly the responsibility to our children very seriously. Specifically to the debt, I think one of the things we need to do is stop spending money we don't have. A balanced approach is needed. We need to start controlling spending. That puts everything on the table. I think as responsible adults looking out for our children, we need to have everything on the table. That includes revenue increases, budget cuts, whatever it takes, and to approach that openly and honestly. So I appreciate your concern for your child. I certainly share that for your child and my child and all of our children as well.
It appears to voters like me that there is gridlock between the White House and Congress. What would you personally do to break that logjam?
Well, I think one of the things we need to do is have conversations with folks. I am a proud Democrat. I have said many times I'm a fierce Democrat. I argue very vocally, very loudly, very passionately my position. But I think after you do that, you step back and you find common ground. You work together. There are lots of things that we could agree on and we should agree on. And I think there's a place for those arguments, but then there's a place for adults to step up and do things together. And it's really just that simple, that as adults we need to learn to work together.
It seems like a lot of the leaders that we send up to Washington tend to lose their moral compass once they get there. How are you going to behave so that I know as a voter that you're not going to become another statistic?
Well, I can guarantee you that I won't be changed by Washington. The chance that I win, as we all know with the gerrymandering in this district, is slim to none. I'm beholden to no one. I have party endorsement but no party money. I have accepted no contributions. I am beholden to no one. And one of the reasons I'm running for office is because I think we need more of that. We need more real people in office, people who will speak the truth, who will say what they mean and mean what they say. I understand where you're coming from, and I share your concern. That's been a big concern of mine as well, that folks seem more interested in the politics and re-election than actually trying to do things. And you've got my word. I know you don't know me, but I hope you trust me. Thank you.
If teacher performance standards become mandatory, what do you think will be the overall impact upon a child's education?
I think teacher performance standards are a marginal solution to the problem. Education is primarily something that rests with the student and the parents. Teachers are facilitators. Good teachers make a huge difference in children's lives, but I think holding teachers singularly responsible for the outcome of education misses a lot of the point. I think kids who are in homes that don't value education are not going to perform well, and to hold the teachers responsible for educating beyond what a parent seems to value is a bit much to ask. I have a lot of faith in teachers. I had a lot of great teachers growing up, and I fundamentally believe that that folks that get into education are there because they want to help kids. And if we give them the tools to do that, they'll do that. And we really don't need to lean on teachers quite so heavily. Hi, my name is Jeff Sinnard. I'm running for Congress in the 1st District. And more than likely, I will not be your congressman come November. We know that this district has been gerrymandered. It's been drawn in such a way by Republicans for Republicans. If you're a Republican, you should be very happy about that. If you're independently minded or care about democracy, you should be very upset about that. Choices should be about Election Day and not what happened in the past, not the lines that were drawn by a bunch of people in a closed room. We need to restore this process, and we need to make sure that your voice can be heard. I sincerely appreciate your vote, but like I said, this election was ended when the lines were drawn, and I hope that we have a chance to fix that in the future. Thank you.
If you plan on voting in person on November 6th, make sure you know your ward number and precinct number so that you cast your ballot at the right place and it counts. Tom McKee, 9 News in Westwood.